I have been married 7 years to my high school sweetheart. I have 2 boys and a girl. I work part-time as a personal trainer. My name is Brianna, and I'm a miraculous mama.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Miraculous Mamas podcast. I'm your host, Elizabeth Joy, and we believe in empowering people through storytelling and education. And I'm so glad that you are here with me in this new year. I hope that you enjoyed last week's episode with Brendan Watt. He's a motivational speaker. We talked over setting resolutions and what could be stopping you, or why do you self-sabotage, and how to set reachable and doable ones. But it was just a great conversation. I really, really enjoyed talking to him. So make sure that you check that out if you have not listened to it yet. This week's episode is going to be all about prenatal health, before even prenatal. So, just in your fertility journey, if you are trying to get pregnant, or that's something that's on your radar, or you plan on having more kids, it's all about preparing your body, your mind, your body for pregnancy, for conception. I know that there's tons of different stuff out there that you can listen to, or that you've maybe heard that says, like, as soon as you get pregnant, just start a prenatal and, you're good. The thing is, if you think about it, that's probably what tons of people have done, and most people turn out fine. My mom didn't even know she was pregnant with me. They were not trying to get pregnant. They thought they were done having kids. And that happens a lot. Like, you might not have expected to get pregnant or whatever. And that's why I love learning this information, because it's just added resources that you can learn and grow from. And I know for me with Jovi, I did do a lot to prepare, but there's some things that I wish I would have done differently or done more. And thankfully she's, I had a great pregnancy. She was a really healthy baby. But thinking about having another kid, because Vito and I are talking about when we'd like to start trying again. And I'm realizing, oh my gosh, time is already closing in. Because I always think in my mind, okay, I'm going to start preparing my body 6 months before we're going to start trying, right? And then it comes to that mark, and I haven't started taking the steps, and I'm still addicted to sugar, and I'm still not working out, and tons of things, and I really want to get back into the swing of things and get as healthy as I can before I get pregnant, just for myself, to make sure that I'm feeling good, that I have energy for Jovi, for myself, because pregnancy can be so draining and motherhood is so draining. And I'm realizing even with working out, a little bit goes a long way. If I just do a really small, not even very intense workout, I feel so much better. I'm like, okay, if I do 50 squats today and do some deep stretches and whatever, I feel better. And then I start getting a little bit of that energy back and start feeling a little more motivated to do more. But I have to be honest, the last couple of weeks have just really been a struggle for me. Jovi hasn't been sleeping great. I'm just freaking exhausted. and I just have days like today where I did not want to do anything. I was so tired. I'm like, I just want to eat and sleep. Although there's laundry to be put away. I need to clean my room. I need to clean the bathrooms. Just things that you're thinking of. I need to get stuff done for the podcast. I need to, do some doula stuff. And then I feel bad that I don't want to get anything done, that I just want to do nothing. And it's just kind of this cycle. And I feel like I've been in that for a couple of weeks. So I'm really trying to snap out of it. And that's why I love these interviews, because it's just a nice refresher and helps me just to kind of hearing information again that maybe I already know, or just kind of a kick in the butt that I need. Like, oh yeah, I can do this. Oh, it is possible. So that's why I also enjoyed last week's episode with Brendan and this week's episode with Nora DeBora. I'm so excited to talk with her. She's such a cool lady. And I know that a lot of you can just relate to where I'm at, just kind of getting stuck in that rut of, right now it's 9:00 at night and I'm still in my pajamas from this morning. I have not brushed my teeth today. And yeah, that's where it's at right now. So I'm really hoping to, get the motivation to, to work out and be healthy again soon. I have cut down sugar a lot since I recorded this episode with Nora. I cut way back. I ate way too many sweets for like 6 months. It was just out of control. And the thing is too, like with this episode, when we talk about health and things like that, or when I talk about when I eat sugar, I feel bad. That's what it is. I mean, if you eat sugar and it doesn't affect you and you feel okay with your life choices, that's fine. Any of the information presented is not to shame or make you feel bad about your choices. I think it's really important to be okay with your choices. For me right now, I'm not. I know that the food that I eat heavily affects my mental state and my levels of energy. So when I'm feeling crappy like I am now, I haven't been eating well and I haven't been taking care of my body very well. And that reflects in my mood, that reflects in my motivation and how I'm feeling. So taking those steps to try to cut out sugar and other things that I know make me feel bloated and not good are just a step in the right direction for me to start feeling energized again, because I want to be energized in motherhood. I want to be energized in the things that I'm passionate about. And I'm just having a really hard time finding that energy right now. But I'm excited for this episode with Nora. I will quit rambling on. If you're listening, make sure that you are subscribed and to share, guys. Please share this episode. Share this podcast with anyone you think could benefit from it. We have some amazing guests coming on this year. 2020, we had awesome people coming on and sharing. So I'm just looking forward to continuing to spread this podcast, spread our community. Make sure you're joining us on Facebook and then also leave a review wherever you're listening to the podcast. All right, I'm going to go ahead and grab Nora. All right, everyone, I have Nora DeBora here, and I'm so excited to talk to her because she is a preconception health coach and a holistic nutritionist, a personal trainer. She's just a jack of all trades, or whatever the female version of jack of all trades is. So I'm really excited to talk to her because she's passionate about a lot of the same things that I am. And I love that she's just helping women in this way. So thank you so much, Nora, for taking time to come on the podcast and to teach us.
Thank you. Thank you, Liz, for having me. I'm excited to be here.
So I'd love for you just to kind of start out by telling us who you are and how did you get into this field?
Absolutely. So this could be a long story. I'm not going to make it too long, but I'll make it long enough so you get a good story and a picture of who I am. So I, as you mentioned, I'm a preconception health coach with a lot of different areas of specialty and expertise kind of under that big umbrella, specifically mainly the holistic nutritionist and the personal trainer yoga component. I really like to focus on the holistic side of this practice as opposed to just honing in on one particular piece. Because as we know, for fertility and for preparing the body for pregnancy and also having a successful pregnancy, it really is the holistic approach to health. So my background is in psychology and HR, and I did the corporate world for about 7 years in my early to mid 20s, moving into my early 30s. And I was in a really confusing place in my life, and I decided to take a yoga class. And that yoga class was literally the trajectory that changed my entire life and my entire professional life. And I grew up actually as a competitive dancer. So movement for me is medicine. Moving and dancing is my therapy. And I know that intuitively deep down in my bones. So I started with yoga. That the yoga journey really took me into this health and wellness world. So as I started my first yoga class, within 6 months, I did my yoga teacher training. From there, I did a practitioner course in Ayurveda Are you familiar with Ayurveda?
The only thing that I really know is like heat. You either have like warmth or cooling, just something like along those lines with like foods in your gut.
Yes. Well, in general, it's an Eastern philosophy of medicine to help heal the body. And there's a bunch of different modalities in there that help do that. And heat and cooling foods is definitely one of those components. So you were right there. So after the yoga teacher training, I did a Ayurveda practitioner course because I learned about Ayurveda in the yoga. And then from Ayurveda, I learned about holistic nutrition. And that's when I finally decided to go back to school part-time, do the holistic nutrition program. And when I came out of that, I did a continuing education course on pregnancy and early childhood nutrition because I'm just very passionate about women's health. And at that point in my life, I was in my early 30s. So there's a little bit of a personal story behind this as well. As a woman who was very ambitious, driven, and focused and wanting to build my own business and help so many women in this realm, I've decided to have a family a little bit later in life for me. So being in my later 30s now, I have decided, well, at the beginning in my early 30s, I decided to dedicate my practice to helping women naturally preserve and optimize fertility after 30, because as we know, so many women nowadays are waiting longer to have babies, whether it's to find the right partner, whether it's to pursue their career. Like there are statistics out there showing how much the number of women are having babies after 30. So I knew I was not the only one in this position. So that was kind of like the catalyst that kind of pushed me to choose preconception care and fertility as my niche. And so I always constantly use my own self as my own experiment. And then it's really nice because I'm also able to relate to my clients as well. And it's a really nice nurturing relationship because I really have that, I can relate to them in a variety of different ways. So that's kind of like the gist of the story of how I got to where I am today. But yeah, it's been a pretty empowering journey to say the least.
Mm-hmm. It sounds like it. I want to share with you an amazing learning program that you can use to help nurture your kids' mind and curiosity and life skills, and that is Homer. It is the essential early learning program for kids 2 through 8. Homer takes kids on a learning journey personalized to their age, interests, and learning level, and helps give them the confidence that they can grow with and build life skills for school and life. Everything is research-based and kid-tested and designed for growing minds. You can use the Homer's Learn and Grow app, and you can also get Homer Explore kits that take the impact of the digital learning program and enhances it with the power of hands-on play, giving kids opportunities to deepen the skills that they're learning in the app through real-life practice. You can fit this into your life, whether your kids are going back to school or at home. You can throw it on. The cool thing with the app is that there's no ads, there's no distractions, so your kids can go into the app and just learn. But it's so much fun. It's fueled by the kids' interests. So your kids kind of get to play on the things that they already love and use that to help learn. The activities are also just so engaging. They have everything from reading and math, social emotional learning, creativity, thinking skills. The app is easy to use. It's kid-friendly navigation, perfect for independent play. Instead of your kid just scrolling through YouTube or watching TV, it'll help keep your kid engaged. Everything is research-backed, and it helps your kid increase scores of 74% with just 15 minutes a day, increasing reading scores by 74%. How amazing is that? And again, it helps build confidence through the skills that your kids are learning. Right now, you guys can get a 60-day free trial if you go to LearnWithHomer.com/mamas. Again, that's LearnWithHomer.com/mamas to start a free 60-day trial today. I love everything that you're talking about with your passions, because we just need that. We need people who are passionate about women's health, that are passionate about preconception health and all of that, because I feel like there's such a lack of education surrounding it. And I feel like we're just kind of at a stage right now with women's health where you have to learn to be your own advocate, because so many issues are pushed aside. And I've shared that on here. There's been so many times, like I went to the doctor a few times for pain. Like I remember, 6-7 years ago, I would have this killer pain in my ovaries. And I thought, and then I would like spot and I'd almost pass out. And it was kind of around when I'd ovulate, and I didn't know if I had a cyst or what was going on. So I go to the gyno and they do a transvaginal ultrasound and everything looks fine. And the only option I was given was birth control. The only option they said was, why don't we get you on the pill and that pain will probably go away? And I'm like, but what's wrong with me? Like what's actually going on? And then a few years ago, I had like a crazy, I've always had PMS symptoms. But a few years ago, I had the worst period of my life. Like I thought I was going to die because I had never bled this much, and I have a heavy period, and I had just all this like, my husband at the time was my boyfriend. I called him. I'm like, you have to come pick me up. You have to take me to the doctor. Like, I don't know what's going on. And again, they ran all these tests. Everything came back normal. And the only option they gave me was birth control. And when I denied it, I got pushback from the doctor. He was like, well, why don't we put you on birth control? I'm like, I'm really not comfortable taking it. And he was like, basically, well, I can't help you. Like, you're refusing to help yourself. Like, I can't help you. And I'm like, but what is wrong with me? Like, my body's trying to tell me something. What's wrong with me? So I feel like we need people who are passionate about women's healthcare, because women's healthcare isn't just going to a gyno appointment once a year to get an exam. It's so much deeper than that. So I love what you're doing and what you're passionate. And I'm so excited to dive into these topics today, because as you can tell, I've had my own journey with it.
Yes, absolutely. And I think so many women, Liz, can relate to you, I think, and we can all relate to each other. And I think, even when I'm working with clients, especially a lot of clients who come to me and are working at the fertility clinic and already have taken that step to get to their fertility clinic, while the fertility clinic is wonderful and amazing with the technology, that what they can do for the human body and really allow women to become mothers in a way that maybe they wouldn't be able to if that technology didn't exist. However, it's so important to have the support with the lifestyle, with the nutrition, in addition to the technology, or in addition to whatever medical intervention might need to take place and happen for somebody, right? Whether or not they choose to go for it or not, it's so important to have the support on the other end of that. Because nowadays, like you said, the medical community, a lot of the times, is about tricking and forcing the body into doing something that maybe it's not supposed to naturally do through, medication and pills. And I think now we've really come in 2020, we've really revolutionized women's healthcare. And deciding, I love how you put it at the beginning, to take it into our own hands, because at the end of the day, it's us who can really advocate for our own health. Right? So I love that you said that.
Yeah. It's true though. Like you have to be willing to ask questions. And that's why the education side is so important, like coming equipped to your appointments with questions to ask, with information to present as well. I know has helped me a lot. But I would love to talk about like the preconception health coach. Like what exactly is that? Like most people are thinking like, do I really need a preconception health coach? Like you just get off birth control or stop using protection and decide to have a baby, right? Like what else do you need?
Yes, absolutely. So where should I start with this? I'll start by saying, so the preconception health coach, again, is kind of more the umbrella term. Under that preconception health coach, I help women prepare their body through pregnancy, through nutrition, through mindset, and through lifestyle. And within that lifestyle component, exercise is in there, supplements are in there, whatever specific needs that woman needs, just based on her individual life at the time, I make sure to kind of include. So first and foremost, majority, I'm not going to say all, but I will say majority of women finally decide to pick up the pregnancy books and clean up their nutrition when they're like, oh, I'm pregnant. Yay, I'm pregnant. Now it's time to get, super healthy. But what I'm going to teach you, or teach maybe the listeners, or you might already know this, but I'm going to remind you that it does take 3 months for a primordial egg. So all of us women are born with all of our eggs from the beginning. When we're in our mother's belly, we already have all of our eggs in us. So it's kind of cool to think about. And then when we're born, as we age, we lose those eggs. But every month as we ovulate, so we're born with our primordial eggs, that primordial egg, whichever egg decides to be released and potentially fertilized, it takes 3 months for that primordial egg to mature into an immature and then a mature egg to then be able to get fertilized. So every single thing that you do 3 months prior to actually conceiving will impact your chances of getting pregnant because of the egg quality, and also how healthy that baby is going to be. There's a concept around this called fetal programming. And so everything that you put into your system, everything that you do within your body within 3 months prior to conceiving will have an impact on the health of your baby and on the health of your pregnancy. And in addition to that, when, women get pregnant, I think a lot of people know this is not a secret, but the first trimester can be very challenging, right? We've got a lot of nausea, maybe a lot of morning sickness. And it's very hard to maybe stick to a clean eating regimen in that first trimester of pregnancy. So when you do get pregnant, at the end of the day, your baby is going to take everything from you. It's going to steal all the nutrients because at the end of the day, your body is there to host this little baby. And so a lot of women come into their pregnancy with low nutrient stores, with already kind of, maybe their hormones aren't as balanced as maybe they could be. And so you're doing yourself more of a service to get into your most optimal shape and optimal health at least 3 months prior to conceiving, so that your pregnancy journey can be a little bit more graceful. And then also postpartum is much more, is a little bit easier. Now, every woman is different and everybody's going to have a different experience. But if you can set yourself up in the most ideal way within your body, especially with regards to nutrition and mindset, just the whole journey of pregnancy and postpartum becomes a lot easier. And again, you're just so much more empowered with the knowledge and the tools to take care of yourself. Because as a mom yourself, I think that self-care and prioritizing your own time really takes a back seat and gets on the back burner, because now you have this new little creature who is demanding all of your time and attention. So I'm trying to think. I have an analogy, but it'll come to my brain in a second. Oh, I've got the analogy. Can I share this analogy with you?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So I love to use this analogy with my clients, in that I want you to think of your body as like an ecosystem. And within your blood is the soil to that ecosystem. So, it takes, when you plant a seed, it takes time for that seed to kind of grow and then mature into a big plant. So think of that seed as like the egg fertilized the sperm. It's now in your body, and we have we need our ecosystem and our soil in our body to be so healthy so that it can now nourish that little seed and plant to continue to grow, right? So you can't really grow a healthy crop in unhealthy soil. So I really prep the body, prep the soil, prep the ecosystem, which is your body, to really be able to nourish that seed and allow it to grow into a healthy, mature plant. And then, have a healthy baby who will grow up to be a healthy, mature adult. Mm-hmm. Because we see so many, health problems with children these days as well. So the list goes on.
Yeah. Last year showed us that you never know what life is going to throw at you. And if you use credit cards to pay off your unexpected expenses, it can be overwhelming to manage that debt. But you can take control with Upstart so you know exactly what to expect. At Upstart, they believe that people are more than just their credit score. They take a holistic view of an applicant rather than writing them off because of a credit score. They want to empower people to take control of their debt and financial future. Upstart is the fast and easy way to get a personal loan to pay off your debt all online, whether it's credit cards, consolidating high-interest debt, funding personal expenses. Over 500,000 people have used Upstart to get a simple fixed monthly payment. They find smarter rates with trusted partners because they assess more than just your credit score. With a 5-minute online rate check, you can see your rate upfront for loans from $1,000 to $50,000. You can get approved the same day and can receive funds as fast as one business day. If debt is taking over your life, it's time to get a fresh start with Upstart. Find out how Upstart can lower your monthly payments today when you go to upstart.com/mamas. That's upstart.com/mamas. Don't forget to use the URL to let them know that we sent you there. Loan amounts will be determined based on your credit, income, and certain information provided in your loan application. Go to upstart.com/mamas.
So out of a few things that you said. So first of all, I also want to say, like, to anybody listening to this episode, don't take this information and look back and look guilty if you were not healthy, if you were not taking care of yourself, if you know, I think a huge problem is also lack of education. Like, providers aren't giving this education to you. You know, when you just tell your provider, like, hey, I want to have a baby, they're not like, here, these are steps you can do to help, you know, make it. They're like, hey, okay, you can stop taking your pill.
Take
or
this
stop.
prenatal.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, exactly. Take a prenatal. Whereas obviously, like, prenatals are great and we need to take those. But your best source of vital nutrients is going to come from your food. And so don't ever like look back and beat yourself up. It's just like information to move forward. If you're trying to get pregnant or that's in your mind or you want to have another baby, these are just ways, things to take into consideration. I had last year, a neonatologist come on who was studying the importance of the mother's nutrition at time of conception and how it actually affects the baby. So there is scientific research and data around the importance of that. And so I just wanted to put that out there for people listening. Because the other thing that people will tell you too is that, yeah, just take this prenatal and you'll be fine. Like, the baby will get whatever it needs from you, which is also not true. The baby, our bodies are absolutely amazing in the way that they are going to give to the baby first, which is why you might feel sick and which is why you might feel like crap. But just because you're taking a prenatal does not mean that you're getting everything for your baby.
Mm-hmm.
So
that is valid.
I just wanted to throw that out there too, because there is just such a lack of education around this. So, and then again, like you said, like the eating healthy thing, like, oh, I'm pregnant, I should get healthy now. Well, you're going to feel like crap at the beginning. You might feel like crap. So it's so hard in that first trimester to be like, I'm going to be healthy. Yes. When that's like the last, I remember there was a week where I lived on frozen mango and I was thankful that had some nutrition in it, right? I'm like, I lived on frozen mango and smoothies and coconut water because that was basically all I could, and chicken broth. Like, that's all I could really have. Thankfully I didn't have any like horrible cravings, but it is really hard to, like, once you're in it, be like, oh, okay, now I'm going to get healthy. But so many people don't have this information. So, like, how do you get yourself out there? Like, like, when do people contact you? Is it usually like they've already tried a bunch of different things out?
This is one of the things that I'm doing my best to push. And this is exactly why I'm on this podcast here with you today, because I'm realizing I have a business coach that I work with, and especially with regards to the niche that I'm in, it's like I would always say when I'm strategizing and brainstorming, like how I want to get to these women. I would love to get to women at least 6 to 12 months prior to thinking about conceiving, right? Just so people can start getting this in their mind. What do they have to do? And what I realized as I started in this practice is that people were only coming to me once they started trying and they were unsuccessful, meaning like they were trying without a positive test, maybe for 3 to 6 to 9 months, and then they came to me, or they've already gone to their fertility clinic and then they decided to come to me. So I knew that a big piece of what I have to do is push the education piece. And I'm doing the best that I can in all the ways that I can by, again, reaching out and coming on podcasts like your own here, and trying to put myself out in digital publications so people can read about me and listen to what I do, and hopefully get onto some TV segments next year. And I've got a marketing strategy for myself to really kind of push the word and educate as much as I can, because I think first and foremost, I always say I want to empower clients. I want to give you the tools, the knowledge, and the resources so that you can essentially become your own nutritionist. You could become your own preconception health coach with my assistance, and with, I'm the person who does all of the research, so you don't have to think about that stuff, because there's so much information out there online. Yeah. It can be so overwhelming. It's so confusing. So you just have to leave that to me. And then when I work with you, that's my goal, is always to empower and educate. That's first and foremost. And then I provide the tools so that, so that they can stay committed and accountable to what they need to do, as well as be able to maintain this type of lifestyle moving forward once the time with working with me has completed. So it's all about educating. And I think you could attest to that with your own podcast.
Another thing too, that I just want the listeners to be wary of as well, that I guess I've seen, because I shared my health journey on here last year, working with a holistic nutritionist and preparing my body for pregnancy. And came to find out I was overproducing estrogen, and I had a parasite, and my gut was just super off. And, the doctor came on and we did a podcast about it, and he was talking about different herbs that I needed to take for my specific needs. But that's, I feel where it kind of gets a little murky. A lot of people I can be oh, I took this and this helped me. But I loved what you touched on earlier, just the specific needs and the individualized care, because each person is completely different. So, if I could research, but unless I've done certain tests, or unless I've, talked to a coach and gone over certain things, I still could maybe not be taking what my body specifically needs. So I love that that's also where you come into play, because I wouldn't have known what to take. And I've also blindly taken herbs before, because my sister's she's a crazy holistic nutritionist person too. And I followed her journey, and I'm oh, she took this, oh, when she was dealing with bloating, this is what she did. And yeah, there's certain basic things maybe cut out inflammatory foods and things like that are basic, but taking supplements blindly won't help you unless you know what your underlying issues are.
Absolutely.
So I just wanted to preface that,
Yes, absolutely.
All right. So we have entered the new year, and it is time to take control of your mental health. And that is why I'm so happy that I am a partner with BetterHelp. They help assess your needs and match you with your own licensed professional therapist, where you get to connect in a safe and private online environment. And it's so convenient. You can start communicating in under 24 hours, and it is professional counseling. You get to work on whatever issues are coming up for you this year. It's time to leave all that behind. We're in a new year, get a fresh start. Whether you're dealing with depression, stress, anxiety, relationships, sleeping, trauma, anger, grief, self-esteem, it's just endless. I mentioned before that I'm going back to counseling just because motherhood has brought out a lot for me. I didn't realize that that I had some anger issues, and that's kind of been triggered in motherhood. And I want to address it now and start taking control of my mental health, and to show Jovi that that's a part of self-care, is caring for your mental health. So make sure you go to BetterHelp. They're committed to facilitating great therapeutic matches to make it easy for you. Everything that you share is always confidential. It's convenient, professional, affordable. There's so many amazing testimonies about them out there. And in fact, so many people have been using BetterHelp that they are recruiting additional counselors in all 50 states. I want you to start living your best life. And as a listener, you'll get 10% off your first month by visiting betterhelp.com/mamas. Join over 1 million people taking charge of their mental health. Again, that's BetterHelp, HELP.com/mamas. Now back to the episode.
So I know like part of what you do is helping women get pregnant. So I'd love to dive into that, because I know that even for me, I have a baby. She's 4 months, and I know that after a certain period of time, we're going to want to start trying again. So I was talking to my husband the other day, and I'm like, we really need to clean it up, because having a baby can put you into like survival mode. And I love cooking, but you know, at the beginning it was hard. I'm like, anybody can bring meals over. I don't care what it is. I'll eat it. And I also feel like that some of that contributed to me not feeling great. So we've started to kind of clean up our diets a little bit, but if we want to start trying again in a year, I would like to optimally start working on that now for his sperm and for me, because sperm health is just as important. So I'd love for you to talk about your 4 R's that you do with your clients to help them prepare themselves to get pregnant.
Great. I'd love to share. And I have to say, like already, Liz, it sounds like you, because I think you're in this space and you have done so many incredible interviews with so many knowledgeable people, and have worked on your own health and worked with coaches yourself to improve your own health. A lot of what I'm going to be sharing now is already a lot of the things that you've been doing or know what to do. But I'm super excited to share with your audience what my 4 R's, I call this my 4 R's to getting pregnant, which I'll also disclose. I'll preface the explanation with, this is a general methodology that I have come up with over the years of being in my practice based on what I've seen with women coming in. And, from a lot of the same patterns that I see over and over again, I kind of created this general methodology. However, like you said, I do a lot of personalized specific testing with regards to hormones and gut health to really hone in on the personalized needs of that particular client. So, so that's aside, but going back to the general methodology, my 4 R's to getting pregnant, has 4 different steps. Each of them compound on each other. So the first R is to remove. And you had used this term already, the inflammatory foods. We want to remove all the inflammatory and toxic foods in our diet. And there's 5 particular ones that are the biggest no-nos. And again, I'd like to say everything has to be done within balance. I say it's an 80-20 rule. 20% of the time, you can indulge a little bit. That's totally okay. We are humans. We have to live life a little. That's totally fine. However, if you are really struggling with fertility and at the fertility clinic, right, it all depends. It's a spectrum. So if you've been trying for a long time, you might have to be a little bit more strict on this 80-20 rule. But generally speaking, the remove foods are gluten, because it does a number on your thyroid, gluten, sugar, so all the refined and processed sugary foods. Natural sugars are okay, but you just have to be mindful how you eat them and what you eat them with to ensure that you're stabilizing your blood sugar. So we've got gluten, sugar, soy. We don't want to be eating soy unless it is fermented. And so fermented soy is in the form of like tempeh and miso. Those are great forms of soy to eat, but you don't want to be eating tofu and the non-fermented forms of soy because it's actually toxic to our body inside. And then we have alcohol and we have caffeine. So I think alcohol, I think we know this is just a no-brainer. Doesn't do well for your liver, and it also messes up your microbiome. So that gut bacteria in your gut. And then caffeine. So in order to really balance our hormones, caffeine is, if we're constantly putting caffeine into our system every day, we're spiking our cortisol. And this does also, it has a detrimental effect on our blood sugar and our hormones. So those are my top 5 inflammatory foods that I start and I say, let's remove the inflammatory toxic foods from your diet. So that's step 1. Step 2 is going to be replace. So now that we've removed these inflammatory foods, we need to replace them with nutrient-dense fertility foods so that our body can now reap the benefits of the foods that are going to support our reproductive system, that are going to support our hormones. And a lot of the fertility-boosting foods for women are actually the same for men with regards to sperm health. So when I coach my clients, most of the time their partners get on board and their partners are drinking the green fertility smoothie just like the mom is. So it absolutely can pertain to both. And so we're replacing with pasture raised and grass fed eggs and meats. Those are one of the most important foods for fertility. We also want to be eating healthy fats and oils. In the world today, especially with a lot of our canned boxed foods, there's so many inflammatory oils in there, and especially if you're eating out a lot at restaurants, they use more of the low quality oils. So you want to be choosing healthy oils because consuming fats are a precursor to all of our hormones. So in order to have balanced hormones, they need to be fed by fat, and healthy oils are one of the best ways to do that. So I'll give you a quick tip. 3 of the best high heat cooking oils are avocado oil, coconut oil, and grapeseed oil. These are amazing to cook at high heats, but canola oil, safflower oil, sunflower oil, I would say no, stay away from those. So yes, we want to eat the healthy fats and oils for our body. We also want to be eating thyroid boosting foods. These look like artichokes, pineapples, garlics, onions. There's a lot of thyroid boosting foods. Brazil nuts to really help kind of support the thyroid. And last but not least, obviously, dark leafy greens, rich with folate, rich with fiber. So getting in dark leafy greens every single day into your diet. This doesn't have to mean that you need to eat, kale all the time. You can cook them, you can blend them, you can put them in soups. However you need to, just pack in those greens every single day. So that's the second R. So we've got remove, replace, and then the third R is repair. Now, repair has to do with you. As a holistic nutritionist, I got obsessed. When I started to learn about gut health in school, I was blown away by what our digestive system can do. And I never knew where my stomach was. Like, I thought my stomach hurt. I put my hand on my lower belly where my uterus is. And I'm like, that's not even my stomach. How do I not know where my stomach in my body is? So I felt super empowered to be able to learn about the digestive tract and then realized everybody needs to know this. So that being said, as a holistic nutritionist, I said, everybody knows the saying, you are what you eat, right? Like that's not, people say that a lot, right? Oh, you are what you eat healthy. However, I look at that as an incomplete statement because as a holistic nutrition, you're not only what you eat, but you're also what you digest, what you absorb from your foods, and also what you don't excrete. So the way that I say this is you could be eating the healthiest diet in the world, but if your gut is compromised, you're not going to be able to reap the benefits of it. You need to be able to, get rid of the waste that your body is taking in. You need to be pooping at least 2 to 3 times a day. Otherwise, you're recirculating those toxins back into your body. So the third step, the third R, is all about repairing the gut so that you can really now reap the benefits of everything now you've replaced for nutrient-dense fertility foods. And then last but not least, the fourth R is rebalance. So I like to, for this last R, it's all about rebalancing your hormones by eating for your menstrual cycle. And again, as women, I think we can all attest to the fluctuations in our mood, in our sleep, in our food cravings. in our energy levels as we move through the cycle, each week of the cycle throughout the month, right? Like our women's bodies have a cyclical nature. And, we try and push hard to have all the energy and do everything all the time for everybody every day. But our bodies are not designed that way. And we need to nourish our bodies based on where we are in our cycle every single month. Because, in each week of the cycle, depending on where those hormones are, we're actually depleting certain nutrients. For instance, when we bleed and we have our period, we're actually losing a lot of iron. We're losing a lot of zinc. And so during that time, it's important to replenish those particular minerals and nutrients by eating the proper foods, right? And then as we move into week 2 of our cycle, our body begins the ovulation process. Okay, your ovaries are running a marathon for an entire week. That's extremely taxing on the body. So we need to then nourish up with high B vitamins for week 2. We need to make sure that we're eating lots of healthy complex carbs so that our body can sustain the energy that it's outputting to ovulate. And so, and it continues to move through week 3 and week 4. So the last R is all about rebalancing your hormones by eating for your menstrual cycle to ensure that you're replacing the nutrients that are shifting or maybe being lost based on where your hormones are at. So that's my methodology in a nutshell, but in a big nutshell.
Mm-hmm. I've always been so fascinated about learning, I guess because you call it your cycle, but within your cycle, you have several cycles. There's like the luteal phase, and I don't even know all the names of all the phases, but,
Yes.
And I also know that I've seen it, but I haven't done it, like working out differently based on your cycle. Is that a thing?
Yes, absolutely. Your whole life is dictated by your hormones. And I don't think a lot of us really are maybe in tune enough to become aware of this. But this is also something I teach my clients, is creating a lot more body awareness, or it's called body literacy. This is a new term now. If you look up body literacy, you'll see tons of stuff out there now on body literacy, and especially for the younger women, even in their teens who are getting their period and understanding how to, move through their teens with regards to their hormone fluctuations. So there's a whole area of research now around this called body literacy, which is, again, makes me so happy because the word is getting out there. But absolutely. So if you actually looked on a graph where there's 3 particular hormones, estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone, that are moving in this like wave-like motion from week 1 all the way through week 4. And then based on where estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone are within each week, it is going to dictate, again, how you feel, your energy level, your mood, and your sleep quality, and your cravings for food. So instead of kind of like resisting and pushing against our bodies and like pushing ourselves really hard to do a HIIT workout when maybe we're in the 4th week of our cycle and we're PMSing and our progesterone is high and estrogen is low, this is actually the time for the body to rest and do maybe a little bit more restorative yoga flow, or going for a long walk, or a gentle bike ride, or a swim, because you're working with your hormones as opposed to like pushing against them. And so you can eat for your menstrual cycle, you can exercise for those 2 things are in my program, is eating and exercising for your menstrual cycle, to essentially help balance your hormones and just you want your body to be in the most homeostatic, equilibrium, calm state. And by working with your cycle, you will get there much faster than, working against your cycle.
Yeah, it makes total sense when you say it. But I feel like, people would have to be really in tune with their body and have a lot of body literacy in order to follow that. Because I know for me, it's like I keep track. I'm like, so I know when I'm getting my period, but then the rest of the month's kind of a blur. I'm not like, okay, this week. And then, I know when I ovulate, then I know when my period is. So, but I feel like I don't know. I feel like it almost would make sense. Like, I feel like it'd be easier for me to then just create a menu for the month that I can just recycle every month. And use, because
exactly. And Yes. No, it gets, and Liz, it gets easier. Like, this is why I say experiment with myself all the time, because, as a woman being in the health and wellness industry now for almost 10 years and being, extremely health conscious, extremely aware of my body, it's, I'm not perfect. And there's many times that, throughout the month where I'm like, I just feel like indulging in this today, or, I'm not perfect. Again, it's 80-20. But it becomes so much easier when you start to become more aware, because the body knows what to do. The body will tell you what it needs. It's just a matter of whether or not you're listening. And then I come in by giving you the tools so that you know exactly what to give it when it needs something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it does, because it can seem very overwhelming. I tell people this, are like, oh my gosh, Nora, that's like, how am I going to remember all of this? But it takes time, right? It does take time. And I do work with my clients and coach them. Like, I have a 12-week program. So I coach my clients through 12 weeks. And the reason why I do it for 12 weeks is so we can pace it. We can pace it appropriately, pace it properly, and introduce new things each week so that by the end, it's not too overwhelming or scary, or like, I give up, I can't do this, it's way too much. So yeah, it definitely takes effort. But if you want to advocate for your health, I mean, nothing changes unless you actively make the changes. So, so that's, yeah.
Yeah. Do you work with women who are just trying to get pregnant for the first time, or like, say, someone like me who I'm 4 months postpartum, but I want to make sure to prepare myself for my next pregnancy?
Absolutely. I do all of it. So anybody who's looking to get pregnant, I will work with you. If you're working with a fertility clinic, if you're at a fertility clinic, I love supporting people who are currently at a fertility clinic as well, because, being at a fertility clinic in general and just having to go through that process it's very stressful, and it's very taxing emotionally, physically. So to be able to support those women, I mean, I love supporting everybody. But I support women through the fertility clinic. If it's your first child, I support women who've had their first child, second child, third child, support women if they've had miscarriages, all of the above. If you're looking to get pregnant, it doesn't matter where you are, how old you are, I support. That's what I do, is help with the preconception. And if a lot of women also have come to me and expressed that they can be pregnant, but their most biggest challenge is keeping that baby, right? And not miscarrying, because a lot of women can get pregnant, but then they will miscarry within, the first 8 to 12 weeks of being pregnant. And so sometimes it's not about getting pregnant. Some people have a hard time getting pregnant, so people want my help with that. But some people actually can get pregnant, but they can't keep that baby to term. So then I'll support them through the first trimester, and potentially, if they'd like, through the second trimester, to really ensure they're getting the support to keep that baby to term. So there's a lot of variations in how I can support women.
I feel like people listening would kind of be a little mind blown that what you do could help keep a baby through the first trimester, second, to term. Is that all with nutritional support?
It's a little bit with everything. So as part of, I have what's called the Holistic Pregnancy Prep Program, which is my 12-week preconception program. And then I have a Moving Through the Trimesters program. And both of those carry this foundational holistic approach, which is through nutrition, through exercise, like lifestyle, which a lot of that includes exercise and understanding how to manage your stress. And then also mindset and stress, they kind of go hand in hand as well. So a lot of it does have to do with nutrition support. And I'd say majority of it kind of falls under the nutrition realm. But a big part of, at the end of the day as well, I can't guarantee full 100% success, because the body will do what it wants and needs to do based on where that individual's health is at. So, but I'd say the chances are much greater if you are, paying very close attention and being very strategic and mindful and intentional about what you're putting into your body, about how you're moving, about how you're managing your stress, and how you're managing your stress throughout this time of trying to conceive and also keeping that baby. So yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. I feel like a lot of people get really frustrated with, when it comes to trying to conceive, with people saying like, just don't stress out, like stress, you know what I mean? Like, I know people who have tried and they're like, if people tell me just to not stress out one more time, like, you know, but I think the interesting part though, is that the stress goes much deeper. So even though if you're not trying to like stress out mentally, that's like what you're thinking is people telling you just don't stress about it. You're thinking like, oh, I'm having anxiety about it, thinking about it, but it's the stress of the hormones, the body, the like everything, because when your hormones are stressed out, that does affect your fertility, correct?
Absolutely. When we stress out, so we have like, you know, we're separate from our mind and our body. And I think most of us, especially in the Western world, we're very rational and intellectual people, and we live in our brain most of the time as opposed to living in our bodies, right? And so we think a lot, we analyze a lot, and then we start to ruminate, and that can start a whole cascade of pushing your nervous system into fight or flight mode, right? Sympathetic mode. So we have two nervous systems in the body. We have an autonomic nervous system, and okay, let me break it down. Give me 1 second. Let me rewind. Within the nervous system in the body, we have parasympathetic nervous system and sympathetic nervous system, right? So the parasympathetic nervous system allows our body to rest and digest. And that's what we want to be in most of the time. Then we have our sympathetic nervous system, which is our fight and our flight nervous system. They're both we need to have both, okay? Like the sympathetic nervous system allows us to take charge in a quote unquote stressful situation, remove ourselves from a stressful situation, get ourselves out of something that is going to be potentially dangerous to us. But we can't be living in sympathetic mode all the time. And even though maybe physically in our environment, we can actually put our body in sympathetic mode if we're living in our head and stressing in our head, right? So when we stress and we have anxiety in our brain, this will push our cortisol up, which is our stress hormone. And then that is going to then imbalance all of the other hormones in the body. And it's going to keep us in our sympathetic mode, not allowing our body to move back into rest and digest or parasympathetic state. So that the parasympathetic state is where our body needs to be in order to heal, in order to repair, in order to rejuvenate, in order to grow a new life, right? Like we need to have this healthy balance of fight or flight and rest and digest. And when we're living in our head all the time and we're just stressing and living in this fear-based mode, we're pushing ourselves into fight or flight. We're pushing our body, I should say, into fight or flight, which is not conducive to creating an environment for a baby to be able to conceive and then to grow a healthy baby to term. So that's where kind of like the mental health and the mindfulness piece comes in. So the mindfulness work that I do is I teach my clients how to breathe properly and, pick, 2 to 3 self-care mindfulness activities every day that they do so that they can continuously be able to support their rest and digest nervous system and find that healthy equilibrium and that balance and get out of our head. Because I think we can all say that we live in our head sometimes and it's not healthy for us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's crazy though, because I feel like, so I had a fertility doctor tell me that stress doesn't matter when it comes to getting pregnant. And I just found that super interesting because there's scientific research that shows the effect of stress on the body, and it affects every single aspect of our life. It affects your gut, it affects your health, it affects everything. So why would it not affect this other area as well? Like if it is affecting your hormones, or your hormones like it's scientifically proven that it affects your hormones. If it affects your hormones, that's what gets you pregnant. Like how could it not go hand in hand to an extent? But it is much deeper than just telling someone like, oh, don't stress about it. It'll happen. I get how that could be very annoying. for someone to hear.
And stressful in itself. Probably stressful in itself. Yes.
Mm-hmm. So I understand that, but it's not just don't stress about it. It's so much deeper than that.
Yes, exactly.
Man,
it's coming back into the body. It's coming back into the body and figuring out like what your triggers are and why you're kind of how and why you're getting yourself into this quote unquote stressful state to begin with. So yeah, it's just, again, coming back to this body literacy and this self-awareness, right? And just empowering ourselves with how to self-care so that we can be healthy and optimize our own health and fertility at any point in time in our lives. Mm-hmm. So yeah, absolutely.
It's a battle and it's a journey. Because I know a lot of moms, when they hear self-care, it's kind of an eye roll, right? Like, I don't have time for that, whatever it may be. But I mean, I had a doctor recently prescribe me. He said, you need to do a 5-minute Shavasana every single day.
I love that.
And that was it. And so for those of you listening, it's the yoga dead man pose. You just lay on your back with your palms facing up, just in a relaxed state. And he was like, you just need to do this for 5 minutes every single day. I haven't done it. And he told me a month ago. But I need to. I crawl into bed at night every single night, and I'm like, dang it, I didn't do it today. I'm like, me just crawling into bed going to sleep, does that count?
Yeah, I was about to say, what about just doing it intentionally right before you go to sleep, lying there, palms up, and just focus on your breath, right? So like, actually a quick tip actually that's really interesting is if you really find yourself in a stressful situation, or your heart is pounding and you've got these fears running around in your head, or whatever it is that's stressing you out, all you need to do is come back to your belly breath. When you breathe deep into your belly, you'll notice babies breathe into their belly, not their chest. When you breathe deep into your belly, it stimulates your rest and digest nervous system, because there's certain chemicals in there that are stimulated when you breathe deep into your belly. So for you, Liz, I would say lay on your back right before you go to sleep, palms up, do your Shavasana, and just focus on your belly breath for 5 minutes. And hopefully you make it to the 5-minute mark, unless you pass out.
I know, I'll have to do that. Well, I feel like you gave us so much information in here, and I'm so excited to share this episode. I know that I'm going to be doing the 4 R's as I prepare my body to try to conceive again. And I'm not trying anytime soon, but I have to start preparing, because like you said, then pretty soon it's at that mark where we want to start trying again. And it's like, oh crap, I haven't been taking care of myself. I haven't been, doing all these different things. So I'll definitely be sharing that journey on the podcast as well. But I just want to thank you so much, Nora, for coming on and for sharing with us. And I'd love for you to tell everybody where they can follow you, and learn more about your work.
Absolutely. Thank you again, Liz, for having me and for interviewing me, and also for sharing your journey and your story. I actually have a guide that teaches you how to eat for your cycle, and and it includes recipes. So if you want, you can start there, and you can find that at www.naturallynora.ca/eat. So NATURALLY, Nora, NORA.ca/eat. So naturallynora.ca is my website. And if you hit the /eat, it will jump you right to that page where you can sign up to get your guide on how to eat to balance your hormones to help you get pregnant. And you can also find me on Instagram at naturally_Nora.
Awesome. And I will have all of that information in the show notes as well. And yeah, I just want to thank you so much for coming on. I'm excited. I just went to that website. I'm like, oh, I'm going to sign up for this guide.
Yeah. Great.
You get back on it.
I love it.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Thank you for coming on and for sharing your time and knowledge with us.
Thank you so much.
I love chatting with Nora and just kind of, again, getting refreshed in the steps I need to take. I just started giving Vito his male prenatal vitamin again. And I
believe, so last year we had an episode with NutriVerve, and they talked all about taking a male prenatal, because it's not just your health that needs to be taken into consideration. The sperm does make up 50% of, of that baby. And obviously then you are providing a home. Your womb is providing a home and nurturing throughout pregnancy and all of that. Male factored infertility is about 40%. So it's pretty up there. But yeah, I just started giving him the male prenatal NutriVerve, and we were talking tonight about just wanting to start taking those steps to prepare our bodies for babies again. We're not going to be trying anytime soon, but just knowing that we need to start preparing now instead of being like, oh crap, we want to try for a baby now, but I, haven't been being very healthy. So, we're just taking steps in those directions. So I'm excited. I actually have baby fever. I've been having baby fever because Jovi's like getting so big so quick. But I'm not ready way too soon. I think it'd be way too traumatic to have a birth again right away. But, we're excited to have more kids, and obviously we'll be sharing that journey with you guys as well. Next week I talk with Chelsea Stivers, and it's such a great conversation. She's an occupational therapist, and we dive into postpartum, and we just have such a good conversation. Just kind of really getting into the nitty-gritty of motherhood, and we talk about shame, we talk about comparison, and just really diving into those topics. And she's just she's just such a light. I loved chatting with her. So make sure that you check out next week's episode. I love you guys, and make sure to check out the Facebook page and to spread the podcast and to reach out with me. Let me know who you want to hear from and what topics you guys would like. All right. Love you. Talk to you next week.
If you want to be the most interesting person at the cocktail party, well, hop on over and listen to the Brain Candy podcast.
Our award-winning content will have you laughing while you're learning.
We read all the best articles, books, and studies, and keep up with new TV shows, documentaries, and pop culture. And then we cram it all into 2 shows a week.
Conspiracy theories, cannibal rabbits, unsolved mysteries, the history of the Walkman. There's something for everyone.
The Brain Candy podcast. Find our link in the show notes.
Or simply search for the Brain Candy podcast on your podcast app.